At the very end of the Academy Awards, the biggest prize of the night is handed out, Best Picture, and the person who walks on stage to accept that ultimate symbol of cinematic power is the producer. We imagine them as mysterious, untouchable figures who control the entire industry with absolute confidence. The reality is a little different. Lawrence Terman, the legendary producer behind The Graduate, confessed what actually happens in his head the moment a studio gives him the green light to make a movie. He said he becomes immediately nervous and insecure. He actively wonders why there isn't a grown-up around to tell him what to do. The person whose singular vision creates a massive cultural touchstone often stands on day one looking around the room, hoping a responsible adult will walk in and hand them a manual. Because the task in front of them is terrifying. A producer has to build a multi-million-dollar manufacturing company from absolute scratch. They assemble an entire design and production team to create a highly expensive prototype without knowing if a single person will actually want to buy it. And once the movie is finished, they have to tear the entire company down and disband the operation. Behind the glamorous myth of the Hollywood power broker is a daily reality of high-stakes, ephemeral creation. It is an environment driven by massive risk, tight deadlines, and pure, concentrated panic. If you sit through the end credits of a modern movie, the sheer number of producer titles is staggering. You'll see co-producers, associate producers, and supervising producers. It dilutes the meaning of the word. To find our subject, we have to clear away the other titles. A line producer is a physical production specialist. Their job is highly focused on the daily logistics on set and managing the physical budget line by line. An executive producer credit is much broader. It can be awarded to someone who arranged the financing, someone who controls the underlying intellectual property, or even a manager who represents the lead actor. But the producer, with no modifiers in front of the title, sits above all of it. They are the overarching architect. They hire the line producer, they deal with the executive producers, and they manage the entire life cycle of the film. While dozens of people might get a credit, the true producer is the sole engine forcing the movie to exist, pushing it from a blank page into reality. The job happens in distinct chronological phases. It begins in the foundational stage, finding an incredible story, acquiring the legal rights, securing millions to shoot it. Once the money is locked, the execution phase begins. The producer hires the writer to structure the narrative, selects the director to define the visual style, and consults on casting the actors to bring the characters to life. Managing all these brilliant, demanding people takes a severe psychological toll. Producers wake up knowing that problems are inevitable. Terman described the daily feeling as walking into the office and immediately taking a brutal, metaphorical right hook to the heart and a left jab to the kidney. Yet, they endure the chaos because they have access to the ultimate creative tools. Orson Welles summed up the allure when he walked onto the RKO lot declaring, "This is the biggest electric train set any boy ever had." That massive train set provides extreme intellectual whiplash. In a single morning, a producer might sit in a room debating the precise cultural behaviors of a 1920s Japanese tea house, and an hour later dissecting military tactics in ancient Rome. The variables are infinite. The problem-solving never stops. And that relentless, punishing pace is exactly why the job, despite all its pain, is never boring. What drives individuals to keep risking everything through decades of frustration? Why risk everything on the next movie? Producers use these massive cultural megaphones to embed their own values and ideological signatures into the global conversation. A film becomes a conscious signature, a way to project personal concerns to the world. They engineer stories to force audiences to confront uncomfortable truths. When Terman produced The Great White Hope, he deliberately chose to tell the story of Jack Johnson, the first African-American heavyweight boxing champion. The goal was to hold a mirror up to society and examine deep-rooted systemic racism. When you execute a story that powerful, it resonates. Muhammad Ali actually visited the set of that film. He looked at the production, saw the struggles being depicted on screen, and told Terman, "That's my story." That is the ultimate compensation. It is the raw power to influence culture, to validate human experiences, and to leave a permanent footprint on the world. There is one thing that terrifies a producer far more than failing on a project, and that is the tragedy of looking back on an unpursued dream. It operates on a specific philosophical concept. As the writer Goethe observed, the moment a person definitely commits themselves, providence moves too. The universe provides unforeseen help and material assistance after you take the first definitive step. Luck and connections materialize only around individuals bold enough to fully commit to an idea. This applies far beyond making movies. Whatever your field, you have to actively refuse to live a life defined by the words, I shoulda, I coulda. Find your bold idea, accept the panic that comes with it, and become the absolute starter and finisher of your own story.